All right, today we are going to start talking about data and information. Data is information that we collect, usually in numerical form, about something. So what we are going to use today, or really do today, is we're going to be making frequency tables from information, from lists. So what we're going to do today, this in the video, would be to simply set up and finish a Chinese frequency table, and then begin the U.S. students frequency table, which is the equivalent of question A1B in your book. So we're going to go on here, and real quickly, I'm going to show you what a frequency table is, and then we are going to get into how to set one up. So a frequency table shows the number of times each value in a data set occurs, and it arranges the observations in order from least to greatest and the number of times they occur, or the frequency of their occurrence. So this frequency table shows the first 7 names for the Chinese list back from that long chart I showed you back here, from this list. So what they did here is they took and they simply put a tally mark in each one, and then they correspond. So we are going to go ahead and do this and make the table. So here's the list of the Chinese names, and here is the frequency table that they started. So what I like to do when I make a frequency table is I like to put a little check mark next to the numbers from the information as I make the frequency table. It's a good way to make sure you don't get lost, especially when there's lots of different pieces of information in your data set. And it also helps you to go back and make sure that you included each part of the data set. So we're going to start by going through the first. We're going to start up here with this person here, and we're going to see that there's a 6. So I'm going to put a check mark next to them, and I'm going to go ahead and go over the top of the tally mark that they put in the book. So there's where that 6 came from, and here's where the next 6 comes from, okay? And then this person has 8 letters, so I'm going to go ahead and put a tally in the 8, and then this person also has 8 letters, so they're also going to get a tally. So there's where the 2 8s came from in the book, and then we have 2 5s next. So we're going to go ahead and do 2 5s. Now, I just did 2 in a row, and I would highly suggest that you not do more than 2 pieces of information at any time, because you might get sidetracked on your tallies or something might get jumbled up. So we're going to go ahead and finish the 7th name here, which has 6, and that concludes the first 7 names. So that's where they got those. Now, we are going to continue by finishing out the tallying up the rest of this information. So we've got a 4 and a 9. So we're going to put a 1 and a 4, 1 and the 9. We've got a 6 and a 7. So 6 and 7. And then we have another 7 and a 9. So we're going to simply do 7 and 9, a 6 and a 5. Same thing. Now on 6, we're making the 5th tally, so I'm going to make it diagonal, and a 5, a 7 and a 6. So another 7 and another 6, a 7 and a 9. Okay, so another 7 and a 9, a 6 and a 7, 6, 7, 6 and 4, 6 and 4, 2 7s, 1 2, 1 2 3 4 9s. So 1 2 3 4 9s, and then the last 5. All right, so we've made the tally charts, or the tally showing the frequency of names for 4. So now what we're going to do in the frequency column is we're simply going to count up the tally. So for 4, there were 2. For 5, there are 4. For 6, there are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 names that had 6 letters. For 7, there are 7 people that have 7-letter names. For 8, there were 2, and for 9, there were 7. So this means 5 and then 2. All right, so when I add up this should give me the total of those of my table, and that simply means that I have included all my information in there. So 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 2 7s would be 14, so that would be 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 pieces of information. So there are 30 names on this list. All right, so that's the frequency table for the Chinese. Now let's go ahead and go down to the American list, the United States list, and we are going to make a frequency table from scratch for them. So just like up here in the thing, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the smallest and the largest values, because that's going to help me tailor my table. So real quick, I'm going to move this part of the chart down so I can see it. And looking along here, it looks like we have a 11 is the smallest, and then we get down here to a 10. And then I come over here, we've got a 9. But I don't have anything less than a 9. So the first thing we're going to do is say we're going to have a number of letters, so number of letters. Okay. We're going to have a column for the number of letters in the name. And then we're going to have a column for the tally for each one of those. And then we are going to have a column for the frequency, which would be the number of the tallies. So this would be how we set it up. So the number of letters in the name. All right, so since 9 was my smallest, I'm going to go ahead and start with 8. And then I'm going to count up 9, 10, 11. Now I'm going to stop here, and we need to go back to our information. We need to look for the largest number. So we've got 15, 15 again. That's it, 9, 10, 17, 16. So it looks like 17 is our greatest. So we're going to keep going, say 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And just so we have a number just in case I missed something, we're going to go clear to 18. So I'm going to extend down my frequency table. All right, now it's time to start tallying things up. So we've got a 15 and a 13. So let me change the size of my line here. All right, so 15 and 13, 11 and 13. So 11 and 13, whoops, 13 and 15. So another 13 and a 15. 11 and 13, 11 and 13, 12, 11, 12, 11, 11 and then 12, 11, 12, 10, 14, 10, 14, 11, 12, 11, 12. All right, and then we got 12 and 9. And as you can tell, this is kind of a long process. So we are going to just keep going. 10, 17 and 10, 17 and 10, 15 and 11, 9 and 13, 9 and 13, 16 and 15, 16 and 15, 9, 15 and 14. So 9, 15, and 14. And so we have all of our pieces of information. Now we're ready to count up the number of tallies. So for 8, there was 0. For 9, there were 3. 10 was 3. 11, there were 6. 12, there were 4. 13, there were 5. 14, there was 2. 15, there are 5. And then there's 1 in the 16, 1 in the 17, and none for 18. So the United States data is a little bit more spread apart than the Chinese data. So what we need to make sure that we understand is that we are looking, this is called a frequency table, and it shows the frequency of the occurrence of the information. So from this frequency table, I can tell that the most common is 6, or the most frequent amount of letters in a name would be 11 from this class, because it has the highest number. But I can really tell that our data is really clustered right around here. Okay, so 11, 12, and 13 would make up the most common names, because there are 15 out of the 30 pieces of information that occur in these 3 numbers. And 15 is a common number, but it kind of like takes a dip and then goes up to 15. So that is it for today. Make sure that you have both frequency tables, both for the Chinese and for the Americans. Okay, we probably should give this U.S. names. All right. Make sure that you have both of those in your spiral before coming to class tomorrow. We will finish out A at the beginning and then move on to B. Make sure you rewatch this. If you have any questions, feel free to email.